Hey guys, Mr. Zigner here. I thought today we'd take a look at some of the basic things that Google Sheets can do for you. Let's get started. Hey, so here we are. The first thing I'd like to look at is the directions for the assignment I want to work through. This is mostly tailored for my students with an assignment we're doing in class, but it's really darn helpful for anyone who would like to learn a little bit more about Google Sheets and spreadsheets in general. All right, so here are my directions. In my first Google Sheet, they want us to put the words technology is awesome in cell C1. So let's get started. So here we are. Now, a Google Sheet or any spreadsheet, Microsoft Excel included, is broken into columns and rows. The columns have letters and the rows have numbers. So they said to put technology is awesome in C1. So here I'll just click on C1 and now we'll just type technology. And now I noticed the word is awesome was below it, but in the same cell. Let's take a look at that. Add a line break and then type is awesome. Okay, so how you do a line break. This is rather interesting because here, if I were to just press enter, I'm now in C2, but they want us to do a line break. And that means we're going to type the rest of this little phrase is awesome below the word technology. So I'm going to come back up here to C1, put my cursor at the end of that. And instead of pressing enter this time, I'm actually holding down the control button and then pressing enter. See, now I'm still in C1. So now I can type is awesome. There we go. All right, what's next? Make the text in C1 italicized and red. Okay, we can do that. So right here, C1, just going to highlight that again, come up to my toolbar. They said to change the text color to red. Well, here's our text color. Just hit that button, and there we have all sorts of shades of red. I guess I'll just go with a nice bright fire engine red. And I believe they said italicized. So here's the italics button. Notice there's also a keyboard shortcut, Control I. But we'll just hit the button. There we go, looking good. All right, let's move to our next line. In C3, type 10, and in C4, type 20. Okay, well, let's handle that first. So again, C1, 2, 3. There we go. And also right up here in the top left corner, you'll see it's notated what cell that you happen to be in at the time. So we're putting a 10 here, and then they said to put a 20 below it. Okay. That was pretty easy. Highlight C3 and C4, and then drag the bottom right corner down to C7. Now, what they mean is we're going to highlight C3 and C4 where we just typed that 10 and 20. And do you notice the blue square in the bottom right corner? Neat little trick here. If you actually click and hold that square, we drag down, I think they said to C7. What Google Sheets right now is doing is figuring out, well, let's see, it looks like you're counting by 10, so why don't I finish that off for you? Watch this as I let go. There we go. It finished counting. Now you might think to yourself, it wouldn't have been that hard to count 20, 30, 40, 50. Well, yeah, but what if you had to do that? See, now that tool becomes very useful because no one wants to type all of that. All right, let's make that go away. And we're back to what the assignment asked us to do. Let's see what's next. In D3, type equals C3 times 2 using the asterisk, and then drag the bottom right corner down to D7. Oh, so we're going to do that copy-paste kind of thing, and maybe make that formula keep working its way down through the other numbers in the C column that we put in. All right, here we go. So it was equals, and every formula in Google Sheets and Microsoft Excel always start with an equal sign. C3. Now you can see there that cell C3 has now lit up in a slightly orangish color. It's just letting us know, hey, you're talking about this cell right here, right? Yep, that's exactly right. So the asterisk counts as our multiplication sign and times 2. Now I'm also getting a pop-up there, 20, and that makes sense because 10 in C3 times 2 is indeed 20. Let me press enter, and there we go. Oh, now look at this. Google Sheets is also offering to do the rest of those for us. And actually, that's exactly what we want to do. So I'm just going to click the check mark here, and there you go. It's all done. But you know what? I think I want to go back and take these away. I'm going to press delete, and I'm going to do it the way they said to. And what they said was to, while this cell is highlighted, again, go to that bottom right corner, right over top of that blue square in the bottom right corner, click and hold and drag it down. And now, instead of having a 40, 60, 80, and 100, oh, I'm sorry, there is a 40, 60, 80, and 100. But up here, did you notice it's actually formulas? So they're saying equals C7, and there's C7 times 2. So 50 times 2 is 100. Jump to this one. So while we see a 60, the formula that's actually in charge of that cell is equals C5 times 2. And then 30 times 2 is indeed 60. Beautiful. Okay, let's see what our next step is. In cell D8, type equals sum. Sum is when you add, parentheses D3 colon D7. Okay, so it wants us to add up those numbers in the D column. Here we go. So that was equals sum, parentheses. Oh, and now look at that. Did you see that? Let me go back here. Again, Google Sheets is popping up with some different options for us just to try to help us out. And look, there's the one we actually need. So I could just click on it here and that would be fine, but I'm just going to finish typing it out. So that's an opening parentheses, and now you want your first item, which would have been D3, and you can see that highlighting right there, colon D7. There we go. And now you see that orange highlighted box around the exact data that we want to add up. Close the parentheses, and here we go. Beautiful, 300. Let's see what our next step is. View the next slide to see what your results should look like. Okay, we have our technology is awesome, 10 through 50, 20 through 100, and the 300. The only thing I see that's different here is they put a background color, a fill color of green on the 300. Well, we can handle that. That's no big deal. We click on our 300, and come to our fill color, and I'm not sure which shade of green. I'll just pick that one. That one looks good. Okay, on to our next step. If you highlight the data on the student task sheet in column D, okay, so just column D, and click Explore at the bottom right corner, you'll be able to generate a chart like the one below. Okay, so let's go check that out. So highlighting this data right here in column D, and they did not have the 300 highlighted. Then they said to click Explore in the bottom right corner. Well, I don't see the word Explore, but guess what? It is here. If you hover over this little box with a, what would you call that? Like a little diamond or star inside of it? That's our Explore button. Click on that. And basically what Google Sheets is trying to do here is show you all the things it could do with these numbers you just highlighted over here. It's telling you, hey, the sum is 300, which we actually figured out recently. The average is 60. The smallest number is 20. Yep. The biggest number is 100. And count A, 5. Now, what does that mean? Do you see it? There's 5 numbers over here. So the count of the numbers is 5. You can even ask a question about the data. You could bring up some of these here, but here's what we're looking for is the graph. You can actually bring in this chart here. So I'm just going to click and you can actually drag it right out there. And there we go. We've got a nice little graph. Let me close the Explore button. Just scoot this over right near there. And good. Let's see what else we have left. Oh, well, that's the end of the directions. Now, here's the thing, though. With my students, I wanted to show them some basic editing you can do with the graph, and then we'll call this a day. So if you click on the graph up at the top right corner, you'll see 3 dots. If you click on those 3 dots and choose this first choice here, edit the chart. There we go. We can actually change what kind of graph we have here. I'm okay leaving this horizontal bar graph, though. I'm fine with that. I'd rather just customize it. So let's come over to Customize, and let me show you a couple of the things you can do. How about a new background color? Oh my goodness, so many choices. How about like a light orange? Okay. Maybe even change the font. I really like wide because it's so bold. You can really see it well. In fact, let's make this really interesting. Instead of like a flat two-dimensional bar, here we've got a three-dimensional bar. So that's kind of nice. It's starting to look pretty good. One more thing, I'm not really liking those blue boxes that are on the graph. So let's change those colors. So that's not under chart style. We have to come down here to series. And on series, you can see, there we go. For that bar, we can change its color. Gosh, what would go with that light orange? Maybe a darker shade of orange. So maybe come down to here. Hey, that looks pretty good. All right, well, I'm going to close out my chart editor. And I think we followed all the directions for this really basic intro to Google Sheets. For my students, that would help you finish the assignment for my class. And for everyone else, I hope you found that at least a little bit helpful. All right, guys, thanks for joining me today and have a great one. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye now.